Welcome Pak Furkan, and welcome Bu Nugrahaningsih. Ada juga Bu Alimah di sini. Pak Sigit sudah masuk belum ya?
Thank you, Miss Lutfia. Dan
Ya,
selamat
Pak
pagi
Furkan.
ya. Selamat pagi ya semua.
Selamat pagi,
Selamat
Pak Furkan.
pagi, Pak Furkan.
Mungkin yang ini nanti 3 bahasa Pak Furkan. The first of course English, and second bahasa Indonesia, and the
Bahasa
third is
Malaysia.
Melayu.
Melayu.
Actually, I feel quite nervous right now.
It's okay, Pak Furkan. It's only a small discussion before we go to the next collaboration, I hope.
Yeah. So thank you very much for having me today. Dr. Siti Alimah, Ibu Siti Alimah, apa kabar?
Siti Alimah.
Alhamdulillah, baik Pak Furkan. Pak Furkan apa kabar?
Sehat, alhamdulillah. Ini apa? Kolaborasi grand project. Belum sempat lagi berbual sama Ibu Siti Alimah.
Masih menunggu Pak Sigit, Bu. Pak Sigit belum masuk.
Oke. Sudah dikabari Mbak Pak Sigit, diulang lagi? Sudah? Moderatornya, bentar. Tak telepon kan apa ya?
Ya, yang lain mahasiswa biologi mohon mengajak teman-temannya, invite your other friends to join this event soon ya. Ini baru 41 nih.
So, how many that you expect to join the session?
Yeah, actually earlier.
More than 100.
Wow. So in total, how many biology students in your department?
About 900 students.
900 students from
Yes.
biology department alone.
Yes, this is education, biology education, and scientist biology.
I see. Okay. Never been to UNES, but I went to OP in 2018.
Bandung.
Yeah.
Our sister.
We had a short visit. Our faculty went for a class trip there, and we had like a short session with the staff and students there. Maybe one day lah with UNES. Looking forward.
Amin, insyaAllah after the pandemic.
Maybe next year you can visit UNES.
Yes.
We will start this event on 10 p.m. Sorry, 10 a.m. So it means 3 minutes again. So please, my lovely students, ya silakan diajak teman-temannya. Baru 50-an ini. It should be berapa ya Bu? Satu angkatan itu? 150 kali 3. Should be more than 300. Oh ya, Pak Furkan, as your information, earlier we only invite biology student in semester 5. But later we consider that to invite all of biology student in this academic year. Yeah.
Selamat pagi Pak Sigit.
Ya, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi,
Assalamualaikum.
Dokter. Waalaikumsalam.
Pak Muhammad Furkan PhD ya. Senang jumpa.
Ya, senang jumpa Bapak sekali.
Ya.
Pak Sigit dari Jabatan Biologi ya?
Saya biologi ya, tapi di postgraduate-nya di science education.
Magister of Science Education, head of program.
Head of program for master program.
Yes.
Magister program.
Right ya. Sebentar saya. Tadi salah itu kurang angka 3 yang di-share ke saya. Jadi saya masuk nggak bisa terus.
Oh, apanya Pak?
Itu passwordnya yang dicetak tebal kurang angka 3, jadi nggak masuk terus. Kenapa? Ternyata kurang angka 3. Terus saya lihat yang di linknya, oh ada angka 3-nya.
Oh, berarti ini.
Ya.
Semoga mahasiswa bisa masuk lewat link ya. Dibagikan Bu Alimah ya.
Ya, kalau pakai password nggak bisa Mbak, masuknya pakai link.
Ya.
Betul, pakai link.
Sebentar ini dari Mas
ini apel dulu, apel sebentar.
Kurang angka 3, tapi ya nggak apa-apa, sudah ini. Nanti saya habis dibuka langsung jalan kampus ya. Ini masih di rumah.
Enggak tanpa. Pakai background kan enggak kelihatan di rumah.
Virtual background-nya ini yang ini laptopnya nggak bagus, nggak bisa nanti tampak. Saya malah kayak penampakan kayak kemarin saya waktu sama Pak Rusdi itu kayak
itu beautiful flower Bu.
Oh ini
Gordon malah bagus. Sambil apel sebentar.
Oh iya. Bu Lutfia mau dimulai jam berapa Bu Lutfi?
Ya, boleh saya mulai Bu?
Mulai aja, iya mulai aja.
Iya, karena sudah. Ya. Bu Alimah atau Pak Sigit ya? Mungkin bisa di-off-kan dulu mikrofonnya. Ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to the guest lecture of Education by Biology Department, UNES, at the almost end of 2021. And it is an honor to me to inform you that among us here, we have the Honorable Chief of Biology Department, UNES, Dr. Nugrahaningsih, and the Honorable Muhammad Furkan Matsaleh from UETM, and the Honorable Chief of Biology Education Study Program, UNES, Dr. Siti Alimah, the Honorable Moderator, Dr. Sigit Saptono, and all of my biology students from all semester in this academic year. And very warm greetings from Biology UNES to each and every one of you. I am Lutfia Nurhadianti, one of the lecturer in Biology UNES. Will very appreciate your presence today. And without further ado, let's start this event by welcoming the head of Biology Department UNES to deliver her opening remark and might be a kind of welcome speech for Pak Furkan. And now I would like to invite Dr. Nugrahaningsih. Bu Nugrahaningsih, time is your Bu Nugrahaningsih.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable of Mr. Furkan Matsaleh, PhD from Faculty of Education, UETM. Good morning and welcome to our department. Thank you for Dr. Sigit Saptono, Dr. Siti Alimah, and Miss Lutfia Nurhadianti, and all our students in join this guest lecture this morning. Today is a clear, very happy because you can hear share of science from Mr. Furkan Mat Saleh PhD from Malaysia. So I hope you can get different of your experience beside of in our department. Today, for Dr. Furkan Mat Saleh, this is the first time meet you, and maybe we are not mungkin tidak begitu atau baru pertama kali, jadi mungkin mahasiswa kami belum akrab, belum kenal. Maybe our student is not too familiar with you, but I think this is the first but not the end. Jadi pertama dan bukan terakhir. We can follow this in another program, maybe not just research, join research, but maybe you can be a lecture in guest lecture in maybe next semester or jadi mungkin bisa jadi guest lecture di sini untuk semester depan atau mungkin kapan waktu bisa ditentukan. Thank you very much, terima kasih, and saya ucapkan selamat kepada semuanya untuk bisa mengikuti guest lecture ini, berbagi ilmu dengan Mr. Furkan from Malaysia. Thank you very much for Ms. Lutfi and Bu Sita Limah yang sudah membuat program ini, membuka open the join kerjasama ya, membuka kerjasama dengan UTM, and maybe kita akan berlanjut next semester or next program. I hope. Selamat berkegiatan, selamat mengikuti share ilmu from Mr. Furkan and from Dr. Sigit. And thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the speech, Bu Nugraha Ningsih, and hope this event will lead to other collaboration next time. And now we are going to the main agenda, which will be guided by Dr. Sigit Saptono. As your all information, Dr. Sigit Saptono is an associate professor in biology UNES, especially in biology education program, and got his bachelor degree in UNES, and then master and doctorate degree in UPI. Yeah, Pak Furkan, maybe you had ever visit UPI. Dr. Sigit also from UPI, and now he focused on educational research, educational biology research, especially on meta-analysis. If I'm not mistaken, Pak Sigit, maybe Pak Sigit can inform more about that. And Pak Sigit also welcome for other collaboration, for example, guest lecture and so on. Ya Pak Sigit ya, Insya Allah
yeah,
ya.
Of course. Yeah.
So Pak Furkan, next time you can also invite Pak Sigit on your event in UITM. So the time is your, Pak Sigit, silahkan dimulai. And after this event will be guided and led by Dr. Sigit for 1 hour explanation and 15 minutes discussion. Please welcome Pak Sigit.
Oke. Baik, terima kasih Ibu Lutfia dan semuanya, Ibu Ketua Jurusan, Bu Kaprodi, and very thanks to Mr. Muhammad Furkan Mat Saleh, PhD. He is a special guest for us, ya, para mahasiswa ada berapa mahasiswa yang hadir ya? Oh banyak ternyata ya. Ada 150.
Nanti 300 Pak, kalau sudah masuk.
Oh kalau sudah masuk sampai 300 ya, 300, about 300 Pak Furkan. Ya, this is a special moment. We have a guest, special guest lecture in educational science education ya. In science education. We are the same program, science education. Pak Furkan in chemistry and Bu Lutfia and I in biology. Oke, para mahasiswa, Pak Furkan is a senior lecturer at the Science Education Department, University Teknologi MARA, ya, UITM. Beliau sudah senior dan banyak sekali pengalamannya. I'm so sorry, Pak Furkan. We will inform in Melayu or English.
Ada masalah.
Oke.
Okay? Boleh.
Ya boleh ya.
Boleh.
Sebab mungkin para mahasiswa tidak semua familiar dengan bahasa Inggris ya. Di Indonesia memang seperti itu. Jadi we can inform to our student in Melayu or in English, right? Ya. Oke. Pak Furkan banyak pengalamannya ya, Pak, sebagai asesor, sebagai penjamin mutu, sebagai juri, dan khususnya adalah di environmental science, method of teaching science, assessment for science learning, curriculum, and instruction. Ya. Beliau sangat berpengalaman ya para mahasiswa. Ini tidak hanya di pendidikannya, tetapi sampai ke pengembangan kurikulumnya. Nah, ini momen yang sangat, menurut saya sangat istimewa bagi para mahasiswa karena akan mendapatkan banyak ilmu tentunya. Ya. Kemudian beliau juga pernah menjadi yang terbaik, ya, yang terbaik, yang terbaik. Sebentar ini. The Excellent Service Award in 2016 and the Excellent Teaching Award for 2 consecutive years, tahun 2017-2018. 2016-2017-2018. Wah, it's very amazing ya, Pak Furkan ini. Ini bisa mudah-mudahan bisa menginspirasi para mahasiswa ya, Pak Furkan yang tampak masih muda sudah punya banyak prestasi ya. Oke. Kemudian beliau mengambil S2 atau magister di Malaysia di UKM ya, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, kemudian mengambil S3-nya di University of Malaya. Right, Pak Furkan ya? Ya, di University of Malaya. Spesialnya beliau adalah di differentiated instruction in teaching chemistry to mixed ability learners at secondary school. All right, of course, yeah, welcome to our university, Pak Furkan, yeah, but in virtual, in virtual. Right, we can start now. Time is yours, Pak Furkan. Silahkan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And a very good morning. I bid to all academic staff, especially to Dr. Nugraha Ningsih, the head of biology department from Biology UNES, And Associate Professor Dr. Sigit, thank you for your warm welcome, and thank you for introducing me. I feel very humble with all the the compliments, yeah, that you give to me. Thank you very much, Dr. Siti Alima, and also Miss Lutfia for organizing this session. I am very thankful and humbled and delightful, yeah, delighted to be invited as a guest lecturer in this session. And I really hope that, to be honest, my knowledge is actually very little. I'm sure that I can also learn many things from all of you. It's just that I really hope that with the sharing session that I will conduct today, all of you will benefit at least a little bit from out of it. Yep. All right. So I hope that you can bear with me for another 1 hour. And if you have any problem or you have any issue or you have any question, you can always post it in the chat, or you can maybe Pak Sigit will take the questions, and then later we can have the resolve the questions in the Q&A session. Don't worry, saya juga boleh I can conduct this session in bilingual. Okay, kepada mahasiswa yang ada punya masalah atau tidak faham, InsyaAllah I will try my best. Saya cuba untuk menerangkan juga dalam bahasa Melayu supaya pelajar juga boleh faham apakah intipati ataupun kandungan yang disampaikan melalui syarahan yang saya berikan ini. Sorry. Right. So can you see the screen?
Okay.
All right. I need to. All right. So the sharing session that I will conduct this morning is on differentiated instruction practice in science classroom. Saya tahu kebanyakan mahasiswa yang ada pada hari ini adalah daripada program pendidikan. Even though I'm having a chemistry background, saya daripada background kimia. Pada saya, this kind of approach is actually something that can be applied throughout different science disciplines. So I hope that you can listen attentively, and hopefully that you can apply this when you are going for your teaching practicum, or when you are becoming a teacher one day. All right. So I will proceed with the presentation. So basically, this is the objective of this today's sharing session. With the first one, I will emphasize on the importance of catering to the learner's need in class. All right, and I'll also introduce to all of you the differentiated instructional practices to the participants. I will focus on the framework and also the differentiated component, and I will also explain the importance and roles of assessment in differentiation practice. And last one, to strengthen your understanding on the differentiated instruction, I will share, one strategy which focusing on the tiered instruction as an example. All right. So before I proceed with my sharing session, I just want to ask you this one question: what is the ideal teaching and learning situation from your point of view? So you can scan the QR code or join by typing the slido.com and key in the key that you see on the screen, and then try to answer the question. I am sorry that I am using the free version of Slido. So it has like limit as up until 100 if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So not all can answer lah, but you can try anyway. Those who have good internet access, you can scan and you can tell me what is your opinion. Apa pandangan anda, pendapat anda? Apakah situasi pembelajaran dan pengajaran yang ideal menurut pendapat anda? Okay. Waiting for responses.
Silakan mahasiswa memberikan tanggapan terhadap pertanyaan ini. Menurut Anda, situasi pembelajaran yang seperti apa yang ideal? Silakan langsung saja. Masa dari 100 lebih tidak ada toh? Nah, coba sudah semester akhir kok. Oh, dicat, coba dicat. Oh, bukan. Halo, mahasiswa.
Ada yang sudah jawab tapi responnya tidak keluar?
Oh, mungkin mic-nya masih unmute. Coba di-unmute nih, sorry.
Alright, dah ada dah. Fun and enjoyable. So there's one response. I'm expecting more from the participants. Okay, there's no right or wrong, yeah.
Yeah, focus on
Just
goals.
that's your point of view, yes.
Ya, bagus ya. Interaktif.
So this is in the cloud, word cloud form. So if there is a redundant answer, so the word will be emphasized more, yeah. So as you can see now, there's basically there's a lack of commonality, kurang persamaan jawapan yang diberikan. Jadinya semuanya dalam size yang lebih kurang sama. Yes, that one is what I mean just now. So creative. Keep coming. Interactive, all right. Okay, fun and interesting learning. So another point that has more than one response. Maybe I will stop up until 30 code. Yeah. Why it will take forever. Wait for all students to answer. Come on, guys. Come on, give me your opinion. So you as I can see that some of you even said that you want an interactive lesson, right? To be an ideal for teaching and learning. So this is the kind of platform where you can use to make your teaching and learning to be more interactive via online learning. There's one interesting response there, that learn without forgetting the student's personality. The one that gave the answer must have a big heart. Exploring surrounding. Effective. Based on students' characteristic. Okay, one more response lah. I will stop until 25 responses. One more response. Okay, all right. So if you can see on the screen, based on the responses given by 25 students in this session, so you can see the words highlighted in bold are creative, interactive, meaningful, effective, learning by doing, fun and interesting. So this is the commonalities that you have among you on what is the ideal teaching and learning situation. But to be honest, as a teacher, when you are teaching, so the one thing that you really want from your students is for them to understand what you are teaching. All right. So in order for your students to understand, so that is another element, and another elements comes in, like the creativity, the interactivity, the activities that you plan with your students. But this is what you think as an idea. But I want you to look at this as a strip of cartoon that I shared on the screen. I want you to read it and reflect on what the answers that you give earlier, right? So basically, there's a teacher, seorang guru lelaki yang mengajar mengenai dalam minggu ribbon merah yang menekankan mengenai penggunaan narkoba. Betul ya? Penggunaan drugs ya, drugs. Alright. Okay. And then the teacher asked the students to tell their partners what they have learned in the previous week. Okay, and you look at how the students respond and what kind of information that they shared with their colleague, with their partner in class. Okay, so among the example, one of the students said that the drugs fill your brain with happy chemicals. People stay on drugs because otherwise they would be sad. So drugs makes you feel brave. They make it easier to talk to people. All right, so that kind of responses that the students give is actually probably different from what the teachers intend, them to grasp during the teaching and learning, or for them to get during the teaching and learning. So this is actually the actual teaching and learning situation that you experience in class. I mean, as a teacher, you thought that you have done your best, you implement the best strategy that you can think of, but it turns out that your students have a different idea from what you expect them to have. All right. So, of course, there are so many variables that will affect the teaching and learning, but I would say that one of the most important variable that you have to take care of is on the students. All right. So, why is it that your students play an important role in ensuring the effectiveness of the teaching and learning? Because the past studies and past research shows that the students may differ in various traits or in different characteristics. They probably have different kind of readiness. They have different cognitive ability, learning preference, learning pace, motivation, attitude, and other relevant traits. I'm sure as I am presenting now, I'm sharing my session today, some of you probably feel less connected or probably less, you feel distant a little bit. Maybe because of the way how I present my facts is not tailored to what your preference or your need. All right. So this kind of the differences that exist, according to research, affect the way how students perceive, how they learn or respond. Bagaimana pelajar belajar ataupun bertindak balas ataupun memberikan respon ketika guru mengajar di dalam kelas. Alright, and one question that I have to all of you, for you to ponder, for you to think about. The question here is, can one size fits all approach overcome the differences? Okay, kalau selama ini kita mengajar, kita menggunakan satu kaedah yang sama dan kaedah itu diguna pakai kepada semua pelajar. Diguna pakai kepada semua pelajar. Jadi adakah kaedah yang sama ini bersesuaian untuk mengatasi ataupun membantu pelajar yang mempunyai keupayaan yang berbeza untuk belajar di dalam kelas kita? Okay, that is the question. So you have to think about it. Okay, so basically this is the overview of my sharing session today. So I will start with the why and what of the differentiated instruction, the framework, the assessment practice, the differentiation components, as lastly I will share on the tiered instruction as an example of differentiation strategy.
Differentiated instruction.
All right. Now, the first one, I will start with the why differentiated instruction. So we know the fact that the demand of the 21st century suggests that schools or teachers need to prepare students to be the thinkers. We want the students to be creative. We want our students to be a problem solver. We want our students to know how to collaborate with people and confident producers of the knowledge. Right? In Malaysia, in fact, the 21st century set skills has been emphasized in the teaching and learning and must be included in the lesson planning. I'm not sure whether it is compulsory in Indonesia, but if you are a teacher in Malaysia, so this set skills, which are 4 C's, need to be emphasized when you are planning your lesson. But we know the fact that in a mixed ability classroom, which the classroom where the students are unstreamed, all right, so we have the broad spectrum of learners and how we are supposed to deal with the learners. So it goes back to my questions earlier on the, is it the one size fit all approach can help, can help to overcome the differences that the students have in class. All right, so basically if you integrate the use of differentiated instruction, so you can design a lesson that is inclusive, benefits students from different learning pathways, and you also can provide optimal learning opportunity for your students. All right. So I've been talking about what is differentiated instruction for some time, and I'm sure that some of you wonder what is actually differentiated instruction entails. Ya, apakah maksud kalau di Malaysia ini kita panggil pedagogi terbeza ataupun pembelajaran terbeza? I'm not sure if in Indonesia you have a different term, but if differentiated instruction basically is the set of all interventions that available for the teacher in order for you to respond to the academic differences between learners. All right, and if you integrate this strategy in class, it will help you to plan strategically, which a teacher can adjust instruction accordingly to meet the needs of every students. All right, due to the variability among any group of the learners, and also it emphasizes on the interrelated roles of the classroom environment, curriculum, assessment, instruction, classroom leadership or management, which address the varied readiness level, interest, and the differences that exist in your class. So in short, kalau direngkaskan ya, differentiated instruction itu berarti apakah kaedah yang ataupun cara yang diguna pakai oleh seorang guru untuk membantu pelajar yang mempunyai keupayaan yang berbeza di dalam kelas yang diajar. Itulah maksudnya. Okay? So that is the meaning of the differentiated instruction. Now, to help you to better understand what is differentiated instruction all about and to give you a better idea, so I want you to watch this video, yeah? And on the same time, all right, if you feel that you don't want to look at the video, you can always just scan the QR code provided on the screen, and you can look at the infographic on the differentiated instruction, which is in the simpler version of, that will help you to understand what is differentiated instruction all about.
Students come to school with a wide range of interests and abilities, and diverse learning strengths and needs, including students with disabilities. Differentiated instruction is a philosophy that acknowledges that students learn at different rates and in many different ways. Differentiated instruction benefits students because it promotes an environment in which learning differences are not just tolerated, they are valued. Carol Ann Tomlinson, one of the early advocates of this approach, describes differentiation as shaking up what goes on in the classroom so that students have multiple opportunities to explore concepts, make sense of ideas, and demonstrate what they know and understand. Differentiated instruction can take many forms. For example, teachers can provide materials and learning tasks at different levels of challenge, or provide different levels of support in the classroom, depending on student needs. When done effectively, differentiated instruction is a seamless part of everyday instructional planning and classroom practice. It is woven throughout the school day and informs how physical space of the classroom is organized, what learning resources are used, how instruction is planned and delivered, how student learning is assessed. The very nature of differentiated instruction means that it will look very different in every learning environment depending on the students, teachers, and learning contexts. Differentiated instruction begins with knowing who students are as learners. Effective differentiation also depends on knowing how and when to use multiple instruction strategies so that students have opportunities to learn in multiple ways. Ongoing classroom assessment is also key to differentiated instruction. Assessment informs instructional planning and provides snapshots of what students understand and can do. Another hallmark of differentiated instruction is the use of flexible groupings. With flexible groupings, students are grouped and regrouped over the course of the school day and throughout the school year. Typical groupings include whole class instruction, small group instruction, one-to-one instruction, peer teaching pairs, partner learning, independent learning activities, cooperative small group learning. This flexible way of organizing groups allows for targeted small group instruction with students who share similar learning needs, interests, or learning preferences. It is essential that group membership be flexible and ever-changing to allow students to work with different peers in a variety of situations. Students need opportunities to work in group settings that they are comfortable with, as well as those that challenge them to learn and grow. Differentiated instruction can enhance a teacher's ability to reach all learners. Research shows that differentiated instruction can particularly benefit students with disabilities, English language learners, students who are gifted, students considered at risk for not completing school. A differentiated approach builds on evidence-based practices in an intentional and systematic manner, and differentiated instruction allows teachers to provide the best learning experience for all students in their classroom.
Alright, tadi saya lupa ya nak beritahu kepada mahasiswa, silakan tuliskan di ruangan chat apa yang what you have understand from the video. Alright, so apa saja point which you think that you have learned from the video, so you can put it in the chat to make this session to be more interactive. Alright, but I just want to emphasize, if you listen to the video attentively, so you can understand what having a general idea what is differentiated instruction all about. And most importantly, you have to understand that the nature of differentiation is different depending on the type of students that you are having in your class. Let's say I am teaching class A, you are teaching class B. How I practice my differentiation could be different from the way how you practice your differentiation, because the variable here is the students that you are having and the learning environment that you are in. All right. And besides, another thing that been emphasized in the video is on the use of assessment as one of the important aspects of differentiation, and the practice of the flexible grouping in your classroom. All right. So I will proceed, but I urge, I really hope and encourage students to write something on the at the chat box. All right. Tuliskan sesuatu apa
silakan,
yang Anda belajar.
Baik. Oke. Silakan para mahasiswa. Silakan para mahasiswa menuliskan apa-apa yang telah Anda pahami dari video tadi tentang differentiated instruction, ya. Di chat, tulis di chat saja.
Alright. So I will proceed with the framework of differentiated instruction by Tomlinson in 2002. So if you look at the framework, so differentiation means it's a teacher's proactive response to the learner needs. Means that apa keperluan pelajar, apakah kehendak pelajar, dan bagaimana seorang guru itu bertindak balas ataupun respon terhadap keperluan pelajar di dalam kelas. Alright, and in order for you to implement the differentiated instruction, it need to be shaped with a mindset, right? Without a right mindset, so there's no way that you can practice this differentiated instruction, because you will only see this as a burden for a teacher instead of the way how you can assist students in learning. All right, so this differentiated instruction is guided with the general principles, which basically is related to the teaching and learning. For instance, the learning environment, the quality curriculum, the assessment that inform teaching and learning, the instruction, and also the classroom management. And when a teacher want to differentiate instruction, they can actually differentiate through various components, which are content, process, product, and also the learning environment. All right. And it must be according to the student's readiness, student's interest, and student's learning profile. And you can actually implement this through various strategies. And for today, I will focus on the three components of the differentiated instruction, which are the content, process, on the product. Okay. So I hope that up to this point, the students can follow what I'm explaining about. All right. Kalau ada apa-apa soalan, boleh tuliskan di ruangan chat ya. Okay. Right. Now, as I mentioned, as you can see on the framework, so in order for you to differentiate your instruction, you must place your learner as the center in your for you to plan your lesson. So this is part of the student-centered learning approach juga sebenarnya. Kalau di Indonesia apa ya, pembelajaran berbasiskan murid begitu?
Ya, student-centered sama student-centered. Okay.
Alright. So you place your students at the center of your lesson, and when you want to plan the lesson, so this is the aspects, the data that you need to get from your students. You need to look at their readiness, you need to look at their interest, and also their profile. So what is meant by the readiness? So the readiness means that you are looking at the students' proximity to a specified learning goals. Alright. So kalau kita ada satu learning objective, sejauh mana pelajar sudah hampir mencapai learning objektif tersebut, objektif pembelajaran tersebut. Alright. Ataupun, or readiness also can be measured through students' prior knowledge. Pengetahuan yang sebelum untuk sesuatu topik yang baru yang pelajar ingin pelajari. And by assessing students' readiness, you can ask, what can these students do in your class? And eventually it will lead you to the question, what does students need in order for them to succeed? right? Kita fikirkan kalau kita ada sekumpulan pelajar yang mempunyai masalah yang tertentu, kita fikirkan bagaimana kaedah yang kita guna pakai itu boleh membantu murid tersebut atau pelajar tersebut untuk belajar dengan lebih baik. Begitu. Alright? And the second one is on the interest. Interest, it's actually referred to something that the students like. It could be an idea, it can be a topic, it can be a work. Alright? Something that appealing to the students. So when you choose an activity, for instance, you choose something that the students like or prefer to do rather than what you like to do. Alright? That is the second one, interest. The third one is on the learner's profile, which refer to how students learning or the way how they, whether they prefer specific approach to learning or not. So this is actually, to some certain scholars, it is actually strongly associated with the student's learning style. So if you know the VAK, the student's learning style, and also the multiple intelligences that the students have. Right, for me, these three aspects is actually a clear indicator or that the teacher can use in order for you to differentiate your students before you differentiate the lesson that or your instruction in class. All right. So this is actually the importance of to carry out the specific assessment, which I put in the bracket. When you carry out the assessment that inform the teaching and learning, you definitely were able to tell who are your students. All right, so it starts by gathering data from a simple survey. So let's say you've been assigned to a specific class at the beginning of the year. All right, so you can come up with a pre-assessment where you can assess students' interests and their learning profile by handing out a simple survey. All right, and of course in class when you are teaching, you will carry out formative assessment or you call as an ongoing assessment ataupun penilaian pentaksiran yang berterusan di dalam kelas yang dibuat berdasarkan aktiviti ataupun kerja rumah yang diberi kepada pelajar. So that will be a data for you. All right, so the next step that is actually very important is for you to analyze the data. All right, some teachers, I know that the fact that when they plan their lesson, they, at the back of their mind, they know who their students are, but they don't really look at what are the data that they have in their hand. So it could be something that is actually, to me, it will not help the teachers to plan the lesson according to what students need. So it's more of like completing the syllabus instead of focusing on helping the students to reach their maximum potential. So analyze data will tell you who your students are. And then from that data, it will help you to choose and plan the differentiation strategies that you want to implement in your class. And once you implement, you reflect on the students' performance. If let's say you use a specific strategy and you look at how students respond to that strategy and what are their performance and how you implement the differentiated instruction in class. And this data can be used to start another cycle of differentiated instruction planning for the next lesson. All right. Now, moving on to the differentiation by components. All right. So I hope that you can follow on the importance of assessment in differentiated instruction. And I will start with the differentiation component as I've mentioned on the framework. So there are 4 components of differentiation that the teacher can differentiate through, which the first one is on the content, second one is on the process, the third one is on the product, and the last one on the learning environment. But for today's session, so I will share on the content, process, and product differentiation. All right. So basically, when people mention about differentiation by content, they have the idea that, oh, differentiation by content means you are providing different amount of content to your students. So basically, that is not that right, because differentiation by content means that you are presenting content in a variety forms to your students. Ya, maksudnya guru mempersembahkan kandungan pembelajaran yang melalui kaedah yang berbeza kepada pelajar. Itu adalah pembezaan melalui kandungan. Alright? So for instance, you are using videos or probably you are giving them with hands-on materials with contain information, or you can give graphic organizer to your students. But all of them are learning the same thing. Let's say you are teaching about biodiversity. You are teaching your students about biodiversity. You are introducing them with different variety forms of learning materials, but they are actually focusing on the same thing. The second one is on differentiation by process. Differentiation by process is referring to the way the students learn the materials. Ya, bagaimana pelajar mempelajari bahan yang diberikan oleh guru. Alright, so if you want to differentiate by process, means that you need to offer a variety of learning options that suitable for your students according to their needs. According to their needs means you have your data on your student assessment, on their readiness, on their interest and their learning profile. So if you choose to differentiate by process, means that you can tailor your instruction according to what your students prefer or needs. You can use the game-based learning. All right. So for instance, you are conducting games in your class. You are asking them to do a cooperative learning, or probably you do project-based or online learning. All right. So that is the differentiation by process. And the last one is differentiation by product, where differentiation by product means you are providing multiple assessments to your students. Okay. In class, I'm sure that those who are okay, try to reflect or try to imagine the time where you were in schools, all right, when you are in schools, or maybe some of you are yang sudah berada pada semester akhir ataupun yang sudah pergi ke sekolah untuk latihan praktik mengajar. Okay, latihan praktik mengajar. Alright, so basically bila kita memberikan pentaksiran atau penilaian kepada pelajar, kita menggunakan satu kaedah yang sama kepada semua pelajar. Alright, in differentiated instruction, it encourage an authentic way to differentiate, to assess your students and providing multiple assessments. Alright, that suitable for the students' need. Alright, so it means that you set a standard, alright, and you set the specific outcomes that you want to measure, but you allow students to present their understanding through various forms, like they can do presentation, portfolio, essay, or group project. But again, if you look at the video that I shared earlier, you need to know how and when to use the differentiated instruction. Not all the time that you have to integrate all the three components that I've mentioned just now, yeah? Right, not necessary that you have to differentiate through all these components. You can select based on what you think the best for a particular topic and for the needs of your students at particular moment. Alright, so before I proceed, sudah berapa lama ya Pak Sigit saya bercakap ni? Pak Sigit,
masih ada kesempatan, silakan.
Masih ada kesempatan ya. Takut sudah berlebihan. Okay, kalau ada soalan untuk pelajar, takut sudah mengantuk dengan saya bercakap. Ada banyak soalan juga yang ditanya. Before I proceed with the differentiation strategies, I just want to address saya mau menjawab soalan Aditya Marianti. Soalan dia adalah apakah penerapan differentiated instruction? Sebelum saya teruskan ni Bapak, takut pelajarnya kepalanya sudah panas.
Sorry, itu Ibu Aditya.
Oh, Ibu Aditya.
She is a lecturer too.
Maaf Ibu Aditya, bertanya.
Tapi masih muda, jadi boleh adik, boleh.
Masih muda.
Boleh adik.
Okay. Apakah penerapan DI sebaiknya guru juga mengetahui terlebih dahulu gaya belajar siswanya berdasar multiple intelligences? Ya, betul. Seperti mana yang saya terangkan tadi, maksudnya mengetahui pelajar kita itu yang bagaimana adalah penting. sebelum kita membuat perancangan pengajaran, dan bagaimanakah mekanisme implementasinya di kelas dengan jumlah siswa yang lebih daripada 30. Ini satu soalan yang baik ya Ibu Aditya, kerana cabaran untuk melakukan strategi pembezaan atau differentiating instruction ini juga salah satunya adalah bilangan siswa yang ada di dalam kelas. Jadi kalau menurut saya sekiranya kita mempunyai jumlah pelajar yang ramai, kita kena you have to limit the aspect of differentiation that you want to focus on. Kerana pelajar itu kan dia punya banyak perbezaan dari pelbagai sisi dan aspek. Jadi kita memilih apakah pembezaan yang terbaik untuk pelajar, untuk topik-topik yang tertentu yang kita ingin tekankan untuk pelajar. Jadi tidak boleh terlalu ambitious ketika menjalankan proses differentiation. Otherwise, it will be too much for a teacher to handle, right? And you need to be very smart because you know the fact that kalau pembezaan itu salah satu yang ditekankan adalah flexible grouping ataupun kita katakan pembentukan kumpulan yang fleksibel di kalangan pelajar. Alright, pembentukan kumpulan yang fleksibel means that we need to promote more student interaction in class so that teachers can act as the facilitators instead of focusing on solely teaching the students. That will actually help for teachers to facilitate and at the same time to administer and manage the class during teaching and learning. Alright, so harapnya menjawab soalannya Ibu Aditya. Alright, so saya teruskan. I will proceed with the differentiation strategies. You can scan the QR code if you want to look at the additional reading on the 16 strategies of differentiated instruction. And before I explain on the common strategies, I just want to explain the quick tips here. If you want to plan for your differentiated instructions, remember the lesson planning or the lesson that you differentiate must provide options to your students. If there is no option, means that there's no differentiation there, right? Mesti ada option, pilihan untuk pelajar, apa yang mereka mahu, apa yang mereka ingin buat di dalam kelas. And most importantly, you must be flexible. Remember, this is only an approach, this is only a framework that been introduced. It is theoretical. Alright, saya tidak mahu bercerita mengenai bulan dan bintang kerana di dalam kelas kita berhadapan dengan manusia. Dengan pelajar itu adalah manusia, bererti there will be different responses, there will different actions towards what we have planned in our class. Jadinya it's very important for us to be flexible. Be flexible means if you have any hindrances, if you have any challenges, hiccups, you need to be able to adjust according to your situation. All right, so this moving on to the common strategies in secondary education. So basically this is a systematic literature review conducted by Smil-Jacobs in 2019. So these are all the common strategies conducted by secondary education teacher. So when they want to differentiate their instruction, they use ability grouping. Maksudnya kita mengelaskan pelajar berdasarkan kategori yang sama, berdasarkan keupayaan yang sama. Okay, or they use flexible grouping. Flexible grouping, as mentioned in the video, means that you can implement the heterogeneous grouping. Heterogeneous grouping means you mix your students. Let's say you have excellent students, you have moderate and weak students. You can mix them in the same group. That is actually the heterogeneous grouping. They also carry out project-based, flipped classroom, tiered instruction, collaborative learning, peer tutoring, individualized approach or independent work, and also mastery learning. But for today, I will focus on the tiered instruction strategy. All right. So basically, what is tiered instruction? All right. Are you familiar with this kind of approach in class? Okay. Have you ever applied this in your class? So maybe you can try one day to use tiered instruction. So tiered instruction means that you plan for a specific lesson. You want the students to achieve the same objective, the same learning outcome, but you are providing different pathways to your students with varying degree of complexity, abstractness, and etc. So I provided a simple guideline for how you can tier your instruction. It's actually very important when you plan your lesson, you identify first what are the learning outcome or the standard that you want to achieve, and you describe what are the key concepts. So bila kita mengajar suatu topik, mesti ada kata kunci ataupun konsep-konsep tertentu yang ingin ditekankan kepada pelajar. So konsep-konsep ini adalah yang harus dikenal pasti, diidentifikasi terlebih dahulu, apakah yang pelajar harus tahu atau capai daripada pengajaran yang ingin dijalankan. And then you think about your students. So this is where you use your data. If you don't have your data, you might want to might want to collect your data prior planning the lesson. Okay, but you can always use the formative assessment data that you have conducted in class. Alright, for you to differentiate your students. Fikirkan pelajar kita ini yang bagaimana, yang tingkatnya yang bagaimana, pencapaiannya yang macam mana, apakah aspek yang mereka sukai dan sebagainya. Dan daripada situ kita initiate the activities. We plan how we can initiate the activities. Because if you want to tier your instruction, you don't simply ask your students, okay, kita pecahkan pelajar kepada beberapa kumpulan. Not as simple as that. You must start by giving them a common experience. You might want to start by giving them a scenario. You might want to start by giving them a definition or a concept that they need to comprehend at the whole class level, and then you can proceed to the tiering aspects. All right. So in order for you to tier, all right, so there are 6 aspects that you can consider. All right. There's tier can be done through activities. You can tier by task, or you can tier by assessment. So it's up to you, right? Depending on what you feel that will benefit the students the most. All right. So I will explain all the 6 tier. I'm sure that it can be a little bit confusing, but I will enhance your understanding by giving you a specific example after this. Yeah. So the first aspect of tier is tier by challenge. So if you want to tier by challenge, you will need to provide your students with different tasks, and the difficulty of the task is adjusted according to the Bloom taxonomy. All right. So if you learn about the Bloom taxonomy, so you have the different stage. Start with the remembering, understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, and synthesis. So you follow that kind of level in order for you to provide tasks to your students. Second, tier by complexity, where you use the same material for your students. All right, give them the same material, but you ask them to do a different task according to their level or their ability. All right. The third one is you tier by resources. Tier by resources means you provide students with reading materials. All right, the same reading materials, but you give the students with various reading materials, but and complexity, but they can actually focus on the same or different tasks in class. Okay, the next one is the tier by process, where you ask students to acquire the outcome in various ways. They can learn something through various strategies, but the end product, the outcome of the activity should be the same. And the opposite of tier by process is tier by outcome, where you ask your students, you give your students the same learning material, all right, but the end product that you want to look from them is different. Okay, and the last one is a tier by learning preferences. This is actually very clear cut, where you group your students according to their learning preferences, and you ask them to complete a specific task according to their preference. So to help you to better understand, I'll give you two examples here. All right, so the first one, so this is actually very related to all of you. I choose topic nutrition, and under this topic nutrition, there is, the students will learn about the human digestive system. All right. So I choose to tier by challenge. Yeah, remember tier by challenge. Tier by challenge means you provide students with different tasks, but you adjust the challenge of the task according to the Bloom taxonomy. All right. So I come up with the 3 tiers. All right. 3 tiers means 3 different groups in class. Within that big groups, it can be a smaller groups. pair work between students or individual work within students. If you look at the task that I'll give to the students, the tier 1 students I give, then this one I differentiate according to the students' readiness level. The first tier, I ask the students to match card, consists of parts of digestive system. So you mean kita berikan pelajar card yang mengandungi komponen ataupun bahagian daripada sistem pencernaan manusia and fungsi, dan kita minta pelajar untuk suaikan card tersebut. Dan kemudian, and the students need to answer 10 objective questions related to the topic. Right. On the second tier, the students will be provided with a picture of the human digestive system. Kita berikan gambar kepada pelajar-pelajar ini, dan kita minta pelajar ini untuk melabel dan menyatakan fungsi bagi kesemua bahagian pada sistem pencernaan manusia tersebut, dan diikuti dengan menjawab 5 soalan objektif dan 3 soalan berstruktur kepada pelajar. Alright, dan pada tier yang ketiga, means that those are at the highest readiness level. We ask them to draw the human digestive system. We ask them to label and state the functions for all the parts, and they need to answer 3 structure questions and discuss 2 problems related to the topic. So as you can see, I provide students with the different tasks, and it's at the different varying levels of challenges. The second one is I choose to tier by complexity. Still on the same topic, I try to tier by complexity. So tier by complexity means you give the students with the same material. So this time, try to imagine, I ask the students to look at the video about physical and chemical digestion. Yeah, physical and chemical digestion. And based on the video, those who are at the tier 1, they need to fill in the important points about physical and chemical digestion in the handout that I've prepared in advance. So I give to the students, I ask them to fill in the important points. All right. On the other hand, those who are at the tier 2, they are looking at the same video. What they need to do is they need to create a table of comparison between physical and chemical digestion. All right. So they need to compare and contrast. The last group, they need to describe physical and chemical digestion by using specific examples. All right. That is the tiering by complexity. Now, another example that I would like to choose is on the green technology under waste management. All right, under waste management topic. Okay, so imagine I plan to tier by resources. Tier by resources means that you are providing students with different sets of learning materials, and you can ask them to do the same task or different tasks on the learning materials that you are provided. So in this case, I provide the students at the tier 1 with several local newspaper articles related to the similar issue on waste production. For instance, I give them articles on the food waste. All right. And based on the article, I ask them to identify what are the issues within the articles. Right. At the second tier, I provide students with an essay. So it's a different learning reading materials on the impacts of waste on environment. Okay, and I ask the students to discuss strategy to reduce the impacts. All right. Okay, and the third tier, I provide students with several articles related to waste management in different countries. I ask them to compare and contrast between the practices. Now, so all of them are learning about waste management, but they are looking at the different thing within the waste management issue, right? And second one, I choose to tier by learning preferences. So tier by learning preferences, as I mentioned, so you group your students according to what they prefer, the way they prefer to learn, and you give tasks that suitable to their learning preferences. So in this topic, so I provide students with 3 different tiers, right? The first one, I ask the students to create a poster on reduce, reuse, recycles. Second, to prepare a speech or campaign to promote reduce, reduce, recycle. And the third tier, the students need to prepare a role play on the benefits of reduce, reduce, recycle. So I actually integrate different way of learning where certain group probably is more fond of like drawing. So I asked them to come up with poster. But on the same time, they also need to integrate the facts related to reduce the use of cycle within the poster. And those who are prepared to talk or to explain in class, so they can prepare a speech or campaign. And those who are like to demonstrate learning by showing example or through role play, so they can also benefit from the activities. All right. So so this will be the second last slide of my presentation. Up to this point, is there any questions? I really hope that I am making myself very clear for everyone. But to summarize what I've been talking on for past 50 minutes, right? So basically, in order for you to differentiate your instruction, so the one important variable that you need to take care of is who your students are. All right. So in order for you to do that, you need to consider on their readiness level, their interest, and their profile. So you need to identify where they are at the moment, at their present, and you need to come out with multiple pathways that will help them to reach their maximal learning potential. And remember that in order for you to differentiate your instruction, this kind of strategy or approach must be planned beforehand. So I would like to emphasize that it is actually very important for you to plan for differentiation. Sometimes teacher claims that, oh, saya menjalankan differentiation in class. But when you look at the lesson plan, it is not reflected in the planning. Okay. So why is it important for you to plan your differentiation? Because if you plan your differentiation carefully, means that you are using the data from the assessment that you have conducted, and you really look at the data and think, what are the possible strategies that will benefit the students the most. All right. Okay, so basically that is to summarize what I've explained about differentiated instruction so far. All right. So yeah, before I go to this quiz, I just want to share this with all of you, just in case, just in case some of you are interested to do a research on differentiated instruction. So I've identified like several aspects that can be explored more on in science education. To be honest, differentiated instruction, especially in Malaysia and whole and the worldwide, is basic. This kind of strategy mostly used by language and mathematics instructors. Yeah, mostly used by language and mathematics instructors. But in recent years, because of that is increasing of the diversity, there is more urge, for teachers to implement strategies that follow or accommodate to the learner's needs. All right. So on that light, it's actually sparks me with the ideas of exploring the use of differentiated instruction more in the science education field or in the science classroom. All right, because we cannot deny that the fact that our students are diverse in class. Yeah, our students are diverse in class. So we still need to pay attention to the differences and think of the way or mechanism that can help to handle or for them to learn better in class. So among the topics that I've identified, this is only a generic topic, so you can go more specific. For instance, the use of differentiated instruction in lab-based learning environment. All right. So try to imagine how would you conduct experiment by implementing differentiated instruction in class. So that is kind of research that you can explore on. Also, another thing is that differentiated instruction through a specific approach in science classroom, because there's a scarcity of literature on this part, right? There is more. We need more scholars, to explore on this and providing more data, so that teacher will have a better idea how they can actually differentiate instruction in class All right, differentiated instruction in hybrid or remote science class. So this is responding to the current situation in the COVID-19 pandemic, right, where teachers start to switch to the remote learning or hybrid learning or online distance learning, so that there is a still scarcity on how you can differentiate your instruction through this kind of mode, yeah, blended learning, hybrid learning, and so on and so forth. And I also rarely find articles on co-designing differentiated instruction lesson where you collaborate with your students. So basically, when you differentiate instruction, it comes from the teacher. The teacher plan entirely the lesson based on the data from your students. What if you explore on the collaboration that exists between teacher and students in planning the lesson? All right. Next one is on the authentic assessment practice through differentiated instruction practices. Development of DI lesson or materials through professional learning community. We have in Malaysia, we have the teachers in schools are actually they need to follow the current policy, which emphasizing on the professional learning community among teachers in schools in Malaysia, where they are doing action research on improving the teaching and learning at school. All right. So, when you want to differentiate your instruction on your own, it could be very challenging to all of you. But what if you explore the development of the differentiated instruction lesson or materials through professional learning community, where teachers and experts from the universities are working together and collaboratively coming out with the differentiated instruction lesson for a specific topic or for differentiated instruction materials, yeah? And the last one is on the lesson study, all right? Lesson study in differentiated instruction, where the same thing, the same research being implemented. It's just that previously you plan a lesson in a group, and then you implement that lesson, and then you ask your colleagues or your friends to observe the way how you teach, and you improve on the lesson planning. But this time you can come out with a differentiated instruction lesson, and you conduct the study in the way that how you conduct the lesson study research, right? So basically, this is among the ideas that I have on the potential differentiated instruction that can be done in science education or STEM education research. All right. So this will be the last question for all of you. I want you to rate your understanding level about differentiated instruction based on this session. Sorry, so you might want to, I'm afraid that some of you probably, okay, there's no one respond. Wait, because of it's only 15 seconds. Okay, join the quiz first. This is a quiz where I want to ask your understanding about this session. Can I have the students to scan the QR code?
Silakan para mahasiswa untuk scan kemudian menjawab quiz. Nah, itu sudah itu ya. Sudah
I will proceed after I have like substantial amount lah. Then you can answer. So the question is only 15 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Just want to know your understanding. Okay. Ni kalau nampak nama jadi lebih senang ya diidentifikasi siapa yang tidak join kuis ini. Itu betul Pak Sigit?
Iya. Di biologi banyak perempuannya, banyak wanitanya. Banyak perempuan.
Ya sama kalau di Fakulti Pendidikan di UiTM juga. Kalau bidang perguruan itu memang banyak majoritinya itu yang wanita.
Women.
Nah, itu Ibu.
Oh, ada M Yusuf, M Yusuf laki-laki ya. Oke, thank you Yusuf. Male, female. Ya, silakan, masih ditunggu.
This is one of the disadvantages of using technology.
Ya.
Kalau di kelas kan dia senang, kita tunjuk-tunjuk je pelajar kita
Tunjuk-tunjuk
kan.
ya, betul.
Di dalam dewan kuliah,
Hmm.
boleh terus panggil pelajar dan terus jawab soalan.
Langsung jawab.
Kalau di UNES, pembelajaran ketika ini sudah ada face to face ataupun masih lagi secara hybrid atau
masih online learning selama pandemik ya, masih online. Insya Allah semester depan mulai hybrid, mulai mungkin beberapa mata kuliah bisa face to face.
Di Malaysia ini sudah bermula pada semester ini sudah hybrid, tapi kebanyakan hybrid juga masih lagi online learning kerana
hybrid masih banyak online. Ini ada kekhawatiran varian baru ini.
Omicron.
Omicron ini yang masih, yang mudah-mudahan tidak berdampak secara signifikan ya.
Oke lah, sudah 34 orang pelajar.
Ya, sudah.
36, saya teruskan ya.
37.
37.
Nah, mungkin 40, Pak Furkan.
40.
Nah, kita tunggu sampai 40. Oke, satu lagi. Wih, langsung 41 ya.
Oke, saya teruskan ya. Ada 15 seconds for you to answer. Just to rate your understanding based on my explanation. Takut-takut menerangkan secara online ni kadang-kadang kurang faham. Jadi mungkin penambahbaikan untuk saya sebagai seorang guru ya. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Kiranya mayoritas ya memahami. So majority of you understand. At least you have a little bit of idea. It's okay. To those who are 9%, so you can have like further reading on this differentiated instruction. Mungkin dalam bahasa yang lebih mudah untuk difahami selain bahasa Inggeris. Dan mungkin itu boleh membantu untuk memahami dengan lebih baik apakah yang dimaksudkan sebagai pedagogi terbeza ataupun pengajaran terbeza atau pembelajaran terbeza. Alright. So with that, okay, ini sama tak ada masalah. Alright. So I would like to thank everyone for listening to my presentation. And I just want to share a quote by Aristotle: "To those who know, do; those that understand things." So thank you very much for your attentive listening to my sharing session. And we will proceed with the Q&A lah bersama dengan Pak Sigit.
Alright, terima kasih. Thank you Pak Furkan for a wonderful presentation. Of course, an inspiring topic, differentiated instruction. Mungkin mahasiswa juga baru mendengar istilah ini ya, karena memang jarang di perkuliahan juga mungkin belum terdefinisi secara khusus ya. Tapi secara umum tadi ada beberapa sudah disampaikan oleh Pak Furkan. Alhamdulillah ya, gamblang sekali dari definisi what is that sampai ke contoh. Sampai ke example how to apply this differentiated instruction. Oke, kita masih punya waktu sekitar 15 menit untuk tanya jawab. Ini ada yang di chat, Pak Furkan, di chat ada mahasiswa sudah menulis pertanyaan, mungkin itu nanti pertanyaan pertama. Untuk berikutnya bisa raise hand in Zoom ya.
Untuk
bisa,
supaya lebih interaksinya.
Ya, boleh raise hand, boleh langsung speak ya.
Dalam bahasa Indonesia enggak apa-apa nanti.
Dalam bahasa Indonesia ya boleh. Boleh. Bahasa Melayu.
Bahasa Indonesia enggak apa-apa.
Izinkan saya menjawab dulu ya, Pak Sigit.
Boleh. Untuk yang pertama silakan Pak Furkan yang
daripada Nurul Aziza, mahasiswa angkatan 2021. Apabila kita menggunakan beberapa teknik pengajaran, differentiation strategies dalam satu kelas, bukankah itu akan membutuhkan waktu yang lebih lama dalam mencapai semua materi yang dituju daripada menggunakan satu metode saja? Okey, soalan yang bagus. Kalaupun dapat dilakukan dalam waktu yang singkat, bagaimana pembelajaran dapat maksimal dalam pemahaman dan cakupan materinya kerana masa pembelajaran dalam kelas amat terbatas, and how the teachers to do it well. Alright, thank you so much for asking the question ya Aziza. Ni saya faham ya perkataan itu, materi itu mata kuliah ya?
Materi konten.
Konten. Materi itu konten, metode itu kaedah, betul?
Kaedah, betul ya.
Betul, kaedah. Okey, sebagaimana yang saya beritahu tadi, ketika kita membuat sesuatu perancangan dalam menjalankan kaedah pembezaan, kita harus mengambil kira situasi dan keadaan yang bersesuaian dengan keadaan kelas ataupun dalam keterbatasan yang kita ada. Alright, if you read from the literatures, alright, kalau tengok dalam kajian-kajian ataupun dalam maklum balas yang diberikan, sememangnya dalam apa jua cara sekalipun, guru akan mengatakan masa adalah suatu kekangan yang sulitlah, yang paling utama dalam pengimplementasian pembelajaran. Hatta kalau penggunaan satu kaedah sekalipun, guru masih lagi mengatakan yang masa itu merupakan cabaran yang utama. Jadinya dalam menentukan, mungkin dari segi aspek persetujuan, saya mungkin kurang sedikit bersetuju yang untuk mengatakan yang kita menggunakan satu metode untuk satu kaedah untuk mengajar, dan itu lebih baik daripada menggunakan beberapa metode ataupun kaedah. Kerana seperti mana yang saya beritahu, kebanyakan pelajar mempunyai kebarangkalian untuk sukar memahami satu kaedah ataupun cara untuk pengajaran itu disampaikan. Alright. Namun begitu, kebanyakan guru memilih penggunaan satu metode kerana kekangan masa pertama, dan yang kedua untuk memastikan silibus ataupun mata pelajaran itu bisa dikomplitkan, bisa dihabiskan. Itu daripada aspek guru. Namun kalau kita ambil kira dari aspek murid, macam saya kata tadi, kita melihat kekangan yang ada, kita membuat perancangan berdasarkan kekangan yang kita ada dan memilih pembezaan yang sesuai. Maksudnya tidak terlalu ambitious, namun masih lagi memberi manfaat kepada murid. Contoh, dalam pelaksanaan aktiviti. Kita boleh melaksanakan aktiviti secara serentak, tetapi masih lagi memfokuskan, walaupun aktiviti yang berbeza, tetapi memfokuskan kepada skill atau pemahaman yang sama kepada murid. Itu sepatutnya tidak mengkonsumsi masa yang lebih dalam pembelajaran kita, kerana kita sudah set apa yang ingin dicapai dalam waktu yang tertentu. Itu antara pendapat saya lah. Alright, dan bagaimana pembelajaran dapat maksimal dalam pemahaman dan cakupan masa yang terbatas tadi, and how the teachers do it well. Satu lagi, dalam melakukan pembezaan, yang paling penting adalah pengalaman dan skill guru itu tersebut. Semestinya untuk guru-guru yang baru, pengajaran yang menggunakan kaedah yang pelbagai semestinya agak sukar sedikit berbanding yang guru-guru yang sudah lebih lama mengajar. Namun tidak dinafikan ada juga guru-guru yang baru yang mahir dalam kaedah pengajaran yang berbeza. Satu lagi contoh yang saya boleh tekankan di sini adalah, katakan Anda mengajar sesuatu konsep kepada pelajar. Okay? So kadang-kadang, bila kita menerangkan sesuatu konsep kepada pelajar, guru hanya menggunakan satu contoh ataupun satu bentuk penerangan kepada murid. Contoh, kita menggunakan video untuk menunjukkan sesuatu proses. Alright? Untuk menunjukkan sesuatu proses. Namun, penggunaan video itu tidak disertakan dengan kaedah lain yang boleh menerangkan proses yang sama kepada murid yang mungkin tidak boleh memahami video tersebut. Itu adalah salah satu kaedah pembezaan yang kita boleh gunakan. Makna kata, ini bererti walaupun benda itu sepatutnya tidak mengkonsumsi masa kerana kita sudah factor in dalam kita punya lesson. Kita tahu yang bila kita menerangkan dengan multiple representations in our class, then it will help the students to understand the concept better. So bagi saya perlu ada moderasi lah di antara, perlu ada you have to weigh the balance between completing the syllabus, getting the students to achieve meaningful learning in class. Harapnya menjawab persoalan Azizah. It's a good question. Kalau mahasiswa angkatan 2021 berarti mahasiswa yang baru ya?
Baru ya, masih semester 1. Tapi
masih semester baru, tapi soalannya sudah kritikal ya Azizah. Bagus soalan ini sekali ya. Sudah
punya pemikiran ke sana ya. Nanti kita akan belajar banyak lagi di semester berikutnya ya Mbak Nurul ya.
Iya Pak.
Daripada Ricky Januriadi bertanya bagaimana penerapan DI pada kelas praktikum. Bagi saya sepatutnya tidak ada masalah, kerana kalau kita mengajar sewaktu praktikum, kita itu kan seperti guru-guru yang lain juga kan. Kita di-assign kepada kelas yang tertentu dan kita dikendaki mengkomplitkan silibus tertentu pada durasi waktu yang diberikan. Jadi kita boleh merencanakan bagaimanakah kita ingin melakukan proses pembezaan itu kepada sewaktu praktikum. Tapi macam saya kata tadilah, tidak semestinya kalau topik itu tidak memerlukan pembezaan, kita tidak perlu membuat pembezaan untuk topik tersebut. Kalau topik itu mudah difahami dan langsung pelajar boleh faham dengan satu kaedah, kita boleh menggunakan satu kaedah. Namun macam saya kata tadi, kita ada pembezaan dari pelbagai aspek kan, daripada konten, proses, produk. Kita boleh pilih salah satu daripada 3, ataupun kalau kita betul-betul hebat, kita boleh mengintegrasi ke semua sekali. Itu memang pada level yang sangat hebat dah bagi saya. Kalau kita boleh mengintegrasi ketiga-tiga komponen dalam pengajaran. Okey.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Pak Furkan ya penjelasannya. Ya, mungkin sedikit explanation ya, tambahan dari saya tadi sesuai yang disampaikan oleh Pak Furkan bahwa strategi differentiated instruction ini adalah varying assignment, varying sources, varying material. Jadi mau praktikum mau tidak praktikum, kalau kita kreatif dalam membuat assignment, tugas-tugas ya, itu akan memberikan student needs. Itu akan memberikan bahwa ada siswa-siswa yang tidak cocok dengan itu, akan cocok dengan tugas yang satunya. Ya, ini makanya disebut differentiated instructions. Begitu ya Pak Furkan ya?
Betul.
Jadi kita fleksibel ya, guru itu fleksibel. Tidak bisa kita rigid, tidak bisa kaku ya.
Sedikit tambahan ya Pak Sigit. Kalau kita memberikan projek kepada pelajar ya, memberikan projek kepada pelajar, selalunya projek yang diberikan itu bersifat sama untuk semua pelajar kan. Contoh kita minta pelajar untuk come out dengan satu projek. Katakan kita minta pelajar buat satu projek rumah hijau. Katakan sama untuk ke semua pelajar. Namun kalau kita ingin menjalankan pembelajaran terbeza, kita boleh memberikan pelajar pilihan atau give them voice on what kind of project that they want to do, as long as projek itu mengukur tahap kompetensi yang sama di kalangan murid.
Ya, betul. Oke, ya, terima kasih penjelasannya ya Pak Furkan. Jadi jelas ya, Mas Ricky ya tadi ya. Ricky Janu dan yang lain mungkin ya, yang lain. Jadi ini explanation ini untuk semuanya. Ya.
Ada yang raise hand tadi siapa? Tias?
Oh, ada ya? Oh ya.
Tias?
Ada yang raise hand ya? Kok enggak boleh?
Tadi kepencet atau?
Terus hilang itu? Raise hand terus
turun.
Mungkin sama pertanyaannya mungkin ya. Mungkin pertanyaannya mungkin sama dengan yang sudah dituliskan. Ada lagi mahasiswa, mungkin dosen, Bapak Ibu ternyata ada yang ikut. Monggo silakan kalau mau bertanya, enggak apa-apa, kita berbagi ya, berbagi pengalaman, berbagi ilmu juga ya. Dari
UNES saja sudah ramai yang hebat-hebat. Jadi kalau tanya soalan pada saya itu takut sekali nak jawab.
Tidak, tapi memang ini mungkin dari jargon, dari terminologinya ini hal yang baru ya, yang baru. Karena memang di sains masih belum banyak ya, Pak Furkan ya. Banyak di language dan math ya, matematik.
Jadi masih lagi punya ruang untuk dieksplorasi ya, untuk dijalankan kajian.
Di sains ya, biologi tentunya bisa salah satunya.
Malah kalau kita lihat dari segi kerangka ataupun framework yang diperkenalkan itu kebanyakannya daripada luar negara. Kita sebenarnya memerlukan framework yang lebih bersesuaian dengan situasi tempatan.
Oh ya, situasi kita ya.
Situasi kita. Jadi kalau mungkin setengah aspek itu boleh diambil daripada luar negara, tetapi seorang penyelidik yang dari contoh katakan dari Indonesia sepatutnya boleh mengadakan atau mewujudkan satu kerangka yang lebih sesuai ataupun mesra
dengan karakter
dan persekitaran pembelajaran di Indonesia. Sesuai dengan keterbatasan yang wujud dalam situasi kuliah dan ataupun pembelajaran.
Bagaimana ini saudara, Bapak Ibu, Mbak Lutfi, Miss Lutfi?
Ya, sudah.
Sepertinya sudah tidak ada yang bertanya.
Sudah semua. Kalau sudah ya ini Pak.
Cukup ya?
Ya, cukup.
Oke, Pak Furkan, terima kasih sekali ya. Thanks a lot of your time ya. Your idea is very good and inspiring us, of course. Mudah-mudahan kita bisa berlanjut bekerja sama in the next program. Right. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya kembalikan ke Miss Lutfi.
Ya, thank you Pak Sigi, thank you Pak Furkan. Finally, we come to the end of this session, and before I leave, I will leave with a quote by Mahatma Gandhi: "Life as if you were to die tomorrow, and learn as if you were to live forever." Yeah. So let us be guided by all the things we have learned and heard through the seminar or this guest lecture, and to be able to see and influence our future. Thank you, and thank you very much. Before we part, please accept this verse from us. Pisau diasah pagi-pagi, bawa ke kebun untuk membabat. Berakhir sudah acara siang ini, semoga bisa memberi manfaat. Till we meet again, perhaps in the next guest lecture. And may all of you have a great day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Furkan.
Oh ya, foto dulu. Boleh.
Take a picture ya.
Alima.
Take a picture.
Dan mahasiswa.
Open camera.
Maybe. Yang sudah siap, saya ambil dulu kameranya.
Tolong di-on-kan kameranya, mahasiswa, Bapak Ibu yang gabung ya.
Bu Aditya, Pak Erling mungkin. Oke. 1, 2, 3. Yang pertama. Oke. I will go to the next slide. So please wait for a while. Sudah, mahasiswa? Ayo, sudah semua? Open kamera. The next slide. Masih ada yang mau membuka kameranya? Ya, biar kelihatan cantiknya.
Yang perempuan ya.
Yang perempuan, oh ya, yang laki-laki terlihat gantengnya. Sorry, saya suka kadang lupa kalau laki-laki itu ada di biologi. Karena satu kelas itu hanya 1-2 saja. Well, baik, sudah. Terima kasih semuanya sudah saya ambil gambar. Sampai
Insya Allah
jumpa.
kita ke Malaysia ya, bukan Jur Mbak Lutfi ya.
Ya, Insya Allah. Actually, we have planned to visit UITM.
Oke, Pak.
Seminar atau ke UITM ya.
Oke. Kita
Semoga
jadwalkan.
pandemik segera berakhir.
Sedikit ya Mbak Lutfi.
Ya.
Memang kami juga punya rencana untuk mengadakan guest lecture.
Okay.
To invite lecturers from UNES to give lecture to our UITM students. So we will plan lah accordingly, depend on your schedule ya. Nanti later lah kita akan uruskan. Dan terima kasih banyak-banyak ya kepada Department of Biology from UNES for having me today. So I am so happy from your warm welcome. Walaupun secara virtual ya, tapi terasa dekat.
Terasa dekat.
Rasa kemesraan itu terlalu tinggi ya.
Thank you very much, Pak Fulkan.
Terima kasih Bu Nugrahani Singh. Betul ya sebutannya?
Iya, Bu Haning.
Haning.
Lebih mudah Bu Haning. Okay.
I hope we'll meet you next year next year. Lain kesempatan. Saya berharap kita bisa ketemu
lagi, Bu Haning. Next year itu tinggal 1 minggu lagi.
Iya,
we only have 1 week.
Insyaallah.
Iya, terus tinggal 1 minggu kita sudah masuk 2020. Jadi kita berharap mungkin bisa entah kita ke Malaysia atau ke UTM, ke UNES, dan kita akan melanjutkan untuk joint riset ataupun kolaborasi yang lain.
Insyaallah. Kita punya satu grant bersama dengan Ibu Siti Alimah.
Iya.
Ya.
And the team yang harus diselesaikan.
Oh, yang dengan Bu Siti Alimah itu.
Joint riset dengan Bu Siti Alimah dan ini. Bu Siti Alimah sudah di samping saya.
Alright. Okay. Terima kasih semuanya.
Ya, terima kasih Bapak Ibu semuanya. Izin untuk mengakhiri Zoominar ini.
Ya.
Ya.
Assalamualaikum. Sehat. Jaga kesehatan.
Ketemu sama ya Pak ya.
Ya.